So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground podcast show, number 50. Welcome to the Real Estate Underground podcast show. Thank you so much for joining us today. This one I'm fired up about because this guy is going to tell me over the next 30 minutes how many mistakes I made about flipping properties instead of investing in land. And I can't wait. This is going to be a blast. Cody Bjugan, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the show. And I can't wait to have this conversation, man.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. It'll be a blast.
Yeah. I started stalking you probably about 6 months ago online because I was, as the economy was starting to kind of tip over and we were putting our flipping business to the side to focus on multifamily, a friend of mine had sent me over a link to your podcast and I listened to it. I'm like, there's no way this guy's making what he's making. And then I dug in and dug in and dug in. And after the, 10th, 12th coaching student that I had seen crediting your program to their success, I was like, all right, this guy's the real deal. So I got to figure out a way to meet him. So, the cool part about having a podcast is that I get to educate an audience about stuff that none of us know about. And that's why we bring in the expert. Two, I get to meet really interesting people, and it's a sneaky way to do it. So welcome to the show. Nice to finally meet you. And I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, hey, I'll just say this. There's a reason why our refund rate at VestRight or our chargeback rate is basically non-existent. It's because I know it sounds too good to be true a lot of times, but once you dive in and it sounds like you have a little bit, It is the real deal. It's off everybody's radar because no one's teaching it because hardly anybody knows how to do it. But I'm teaching it for a different reason. But yeah, it's truly a blue ocean opportunity. And so, whatever we want to jump into today, let's jump in and I'll be open book with y'all.
Yeah, thank you. So I started to get on track, and I know this is a little bit far afield from what you're doing, but a little bit. I started to get intrigued when I saw that Bill Gates and Larry Ellison and Warren Buffett were buying up farmland by the hectare. I mean, it was just these massive buys throughout the Midwest and elsewhere. I started to pay attention. I'm like, I wonder why they're doing that. I can't figure it out. And then in parallel to that, like I said, our mutual friend of ours had slid me a link to your podcast. And I thought, this is interesting stuff. So for those of us who don't know about your system or who you are and what you do, why don't we start there?
So I'm going to start here. You said, who am I, right? A pastor friend of mine that I started meeting with one-on-one about 4 months ago, I picked 5 people that I was going to start meeting with one-on-one, recurring scheduled meetings every 2 weeks, right? If it's not scheduled, it won't happen.
Right on.
And so, I've been asked on different podcasts, hey, how did you get to where you're at? Tell us your story, right? And I'll run through all the highlights of my life up to this point and the low points and kind of what sculpted me into who I am. But one thing, your team sent me over this kind of one sheet of some of these basic questions that you a lot of times ask.
Yep.
And I skimmed it, just to be frank, within 30 seconds right before this. And I like to roll more authentic with these podcasts. And so what I wanted to share with you is my pastor friend asked me, I'm going to say this about a month ago.
Okay.
And he simply asked me this question. He said, who are you? And no one had ever quite asked me that exact question. And this is vulnerable for me to share this with y'all, but I committed that I was going to start sharing this more publicly as I had the opportunity. And I stopped in about, 5 or 10 seconds, I just thought. And then after those 5 or 10 seconds, here was my response. And I'm sharing this because you also asked what drives me. It was one of your other questions. Who are you and what drives you? And I think this is going to answer both those questions. Okay. Here's how I responded to my buddy just off the cuff. And it was just profound and it spoke to my life. Okay. And I had never said these words before. I have it written down here on my wall. It says, I'm a broken little boy that's being very intentional and purposeful about pivoting the legacy of my family so that same little boy doesn't show up in future generations.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that's who I am.
Well,
That's what drives me.
In my family, they call that breaking the cycle. And in fact,
100%.
I call it that, right? So let's talk about this because you just hit upon something that really resonated with me. What does that mean specifically to your present day life?
I mean, it's really most all the pillars. It's pivoting, right? I mean, I'd say I was in my late teens. I went to the school, I got a degree from Reality Check. And what I mean by that is I got my high school girlfriend pregnant and got married right out of high school and had a family to provide for. So, I got a degree from the streets, right? Real world experiences. But I made a choice back then, or I had it was very clear to me that I wanted to pivot the legacy of my last name. And it's really, and I'm not trying to, I love my family, wish nothing but the best for them as far as the generations prior to me. But there was just a lot of pivots that had to happen. It had to do, sure, with career and business, but man, it first started with me and who I am and my family pillar, my relationship pillar, my spiritual pillar. I mean, it literally, I'm trying to pivot every single pillar, some more than others. Maybe some I'm just pivoting them 20 degrees. Others, I'm pivoting them 180 degrees, right? Or maybe I should go more like this to this, right? And it's been different stages of my life where I've been able to pivot certain pillars more than others. So I pivoted my career or my business or my entrepreneurship experience. I pivoted that early in life. Mm-hmm. Okay. But the problem is when I was pivoting that for the family legacy, I really was hurting other pillars in my life because I was a workaholic. And then 90% of that got taken away from me in the Great Recession. And so now, thank the Lord, learned through all that. And I'm, financially in a better position now than I was back then, but I'm actually more focused on the other pillars because of the mistakes I made in the first round. Right. Sure. And so that legacy, that pivot, that not wanting what's inside me to exist in my kids or their kids, that motivates me, right? That's the why. Like money and businesses and career, it's all cool. It's all great, but it's
byproducts of doing the right thing.
Money's just a tool, people. It's not the arrival point.
Right.
You're never going to arrive. Let's just get that straight.
Right.
Like you're never going to arrive.
And even when you think you do. So, coming from a workaholic as well, right? Where, I was traveling 200 nights a year. And my wife, I have two beautiful daughters at home and they're amazing. And my wife is amazing. And, at one point she turned to me and said, "You're missing so much good stuff." And she was 100% right. And it's what put me on the path to creating Clark Street, but also making sure that when I was home, I was present and focused on what was most important, which was not returning my boss's call, right? Or check an email or whatever else I was doing. It was, spending time and learning about who my girls were and who my wife was and our relationship and all that. That really hit home for me. I have a lot of respect for people who are that introspective in terms of being able to look at not only when I hear your story, I think about life design, right? And you have these pillars, I have these basic things that I'm trying to focus on, but all of it is about freedom and time, and none of it is about money, right? I mean, money, like you said, is a tool, right? It allows people to be able to then not have to sweat going to work on Monday because that is more or less taken care of, or it is taken care of. And you can focus on the things that are really important in your life, like being a dad and being a husband and being a friend and, contributing to your community and all that, right?
Totally. Yeah, I pulled up as you were talking, I purposely pulled up my personal website for a reason. And the reason I did, so I have this bracelet on right now that I'll show you. It's called, on this bracelet, it says one legacy, okay, on this bracelet. Yep. So my two personal slogans, PIF, purpose, impact, fulfillment, which I've kind of used now for several years. And then one legacy I just came up with recently. And one legacy, and a team just added that on my website. And it's one legacy is all about, hey, how many legacies do you have? You have one. How many legacies do I have? I have one. How many legacies do we each have? We all have one. And right now, being in this moment with you, I am going to impact your legacy in one way or another. okay, in a positive way or a negative way, because we're having this interaction. Because the thing is, every moment of your life, every action you take, every decision you make or don't make, or action you take, or every single moment of your life, you are sculpting your one legacy.
Right.
And not only are you sculpting your one legacy, but you're sculpting the one legacy of the people around you within your reach. And that's a big deal. If you take the time to get centered and get real with what matters. And people think a legacy is, money. I mean, money is such a small part of your legacy. Or you look at that person over there and you say, they're successful, or they're successful. Bullshit. Like, by the way, I'm one of those guys that I can cuss and say I love Jesus in the same sentence. I don't have a conviction about it, but whatever. I think it comes out when I get passionate and start talking about this stuff. But just because they have a great career, they make lots of money, quit calling them successful. Because they could be failing miserably in every other pillar of their life. Yep. Right? Until the way I explain it is, you have these different pillars. And I'm going to tell you what my pillars are here in just a second. And I'm going to draw a line in the middle. Okay. And let's just say that line's at 5. Okay. And it's a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. And above 5, you're succeeding. Below 5, you're failing. Mm-hmm. Okay. My goal in life is to keep every one of my pillars above 5 at any given time. And some of them are going to be at 6. Some of them are going to be at 9. The reality is I'll never have all of them at 10, all at the same time, ongoing. That's not humanly possible. That's called perfection. And that's Jesus is only capable of accomplishing that. Right. Okay. Right. But can I keep them all above the line? And that's my goal right now. So what I did is I said one legacy. I said, we only have one. And then I spelled out legacy. And the first one is L, is lasting faith. For me, that's spiritual, relates to Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. But you need to have faith in something. Okay, we all have to have faith. And I'm not even going spiritual with faith. You have to have faith in what it is you're trying to accomplish. You got to have faith in that you're not in control of everything. You have to have faith, and it has to be lasting. And another one of your questions was, by the way, is what holds people back? Yep. No questions asked. The number one thing, in my opinion, that holds everybody back is fear. Fear holds everybody back. The only time it doesn't is when they choose to face it. And what I would suggest to everybody is allow faith to win over fear. The way you overcome fear is through faith. Faith will win the battle in the ring every time against fear. Okay. So one is lasting faith. The E for legacy is exceptional relationships. Mm-hmm. Is that we are built to have relationship, to have community. And even if you call yourself a loner, you're lying to yourself. We all need relationship. Okay. Yes, some of us are more introvert like myself, but that doesn't mean that I don't need exceptional relationships in my life. The G is genuine impact. So this goes to my other personal slogan, which is PIF. A lot of you think as PIF is paid in full. Well, if you want the best shot of paid in full, tell you what is my PIF, which is purpose, impact, fulfillment. Go figure out your purpose. Go have a positive impact. Through that positive impact, you will find fulfillment. I talk about this all the time because I love it so much. The reality is, I don't even like the word happy. The word happy is temporary. It's empty. Okay. Y'all, I just want to be happy. No, bullshit. You don't want to be happy. You want to be fulfilled. And the reality is, we are all searching for fulfillment, whether we know it or not. And you don't have a shot in hell at fulfillment unless you're making an impact in lives around you and you're making a difference. And so the next one is genuine impact. Okay. Because you're not just having an impact to have an impact. It's genuine. You're not having an impact so you can get something back. Right. You're genuinely just want to have an impact. Right. You're actually like you and having this podcast, right? You genuinely want to have an impact. Right. Next is able finances for the A in legacy. And I didn't say multi-millionaire or anything. I said able finances. What is able finances for me is different than the person next to me, is different than the person next to them. It takes all kinds for the world to go around, and able finances means something different for each person. The next thing is the C in legacy, which is cherished experiences. People, we're here for a short period of time. Yep. And there's amazing opportunities to have beautiful experiences with your loved ones, with your friends, with travel, with blah, 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 blah. Have cherished experiences in your life. And then the last one, the Y, you might be able to guess, is you. Where are you at on your spiritual health, your emotional health, your physical health? Where are you at on your personal development, trying to become the best version of yourself?
Yeah.
So those are my 6 pillars, and they spell out legacy.
That's phenomenal. It completely makes sense. The one that really resonated with me was you've got to have a genuine impact, right? And like you were saying, the fact is that I don't know if you're a Tony Robbins aficionado. I happen to be. And one of the things that he talks about is moving from service to contribution to fulfillment, right? And when you are serving, like we're trying to do with this podcast and the other things that we do it with no expectation of anything coming back, right? This is just, I was fortunate that I had half a dozen people in my life who threw an arm around me at one point in my personal or professional life and said, they either took pity on me or saw something in me, and doesn't matter which one, they did, right? And the fact is that they helped me move forward in one aspect of my life or another. And I am eternally grateful to those people. And in fact, most of them, one has passed away, but the rest are still actively in my life. And I'm very fortunate to have them, to be able to pick up the phone and call them.
That's so good.
It's a blessing, right? But the fact is that, the way that none of them wanted a piece of my company or me to buy them dinner or even a thank you, which I have profusely, I've given them over the years, but they wanted me to pay it forward. And so this is one of the ways that I do this, is by having this podcast, because I get to meet people like you who drop the golden nuggets and help people become better, either personally, professionally, or both. And so that really resonated with me.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you. And I think the golden nuggets really start coming out when someone's willing to be vulnerable.
Without a doubt. One of the things that I've noticed in human beings is over the years, now I'm 53, right? So I've been here for a while. And, one of the things that I find is that if I'm speaking to an audience, like in a conference room, or we're here, or I'm meeting just a person over a cup of coffee, they're not going to engage until they figure out 2 things. One is we have shared experiences. I've been there. I understand. I know what it's like to grow up in a house where the government sent you a block of cheese because, your family couldn't afford to pay for, the food themselves, right? I've been in that house. And to be able to then grow through a lot of generosity and a lot of hard work and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the other piece of it is how much you care about them, right? I always tell people I'm a cheap date. You buy me a cup of coffee, I'll tell you anything and everything you want to know about real estate. I'll tell you everything I know over a 20-minute cup of coffee. And most of the time I'll buy the coffee, right? It's just, it's really fun, right? And I think it's in those 2 specific situations where people really start to pay attention and go, this guy actually wants to help. This guy is helping me and he doesn't want anything from me, right? He's just there to help and serve.
Yep.
That is, to go back to fulfillment, that's one of the ways that creates fulfillment in my life is, walking out of that meeting, my feet don't touch the ground all the way back to the car.
Totally.
That's a good day for me. Right. So
that's good, man. I love it.
Yeah. So let's talk about land.
Okay. Let's do it.
I think we understand where you're coming from and what you're looking to accomplish in terms of living to those pillars, which are profound. And I'm really glad you shared that. But let's talk about how you have built this program that has helped lots and lots of people create the freedom in their lives.
Sure. Well, let's just start off by saying I started VestRight, the online education company, right? I started that in 2019. So a little over about 3 years ago, really. And I did it for my other personal slogan, which is PIF, Purpose, Impact, Fulfillment. I have a very specialized knowledge and experience that I felt convicted and called to share. And, I've had people, haters. A lot of times you're doing things great. people love to hate. Haters love to hate, right? And so I'll hear things like, oh, he makes so much money doing it. Why the heck's he teaching it, right? Like, he just wants to make his money teaching it. And the thing is, let me just be very frank. What I make teaching this stuff is like a blip compared to what I make doing it.
Right.
Okay. Secondly, I think it's very important that whoever you're learning from someone that actually does it.
Amen.
Okay. So I do what I teach.
Right. You want it.
But the reason I started this was PIF, purpose, impact, fulfillment. I have this purpose to go share this specialty knowledge and experience. It's going to impact people's lives, which it's already had dramatic impact on people's lives, changed their career, their finances, their life balance forever. And through that, man, like you were talking about earlier, I mean, I find tremendous fulfillment. Like, one of our grads that I recently handed a check to for like 610 grand, and that he worked full time at his church for minimal amount of money. I mean, that's emotional for me, that because I chose to go start VestRight, that happened in his life.
And it mentally changed his life.
Totally.
Right.
100%. And so, I started this VestRight, so I teach what I do. And I'll tell you, I'm not as smart as probably people give me credit for. And I'll tell you why I say that is, when I started VestRight, it was strictly out of PIF. Just teach what I do, which is what I teach, just to be clear, is I teach one, how to find off-market raw land. But the key is that has development potential, because that's where the value add is. I'm not in the wholesale business. Okay. I'm not in trying to buy stuff below market and flip it and make a quick buck by taking advantage of someone that's motivated or desperate. Okay. So I teach how to identify off-market raw land that has development potential, which we can dive into.
Yep.
And then I teach the entitlement process, what the governmental approval entitlement process, how does it work, and how to get through it, how to take that raw land that has development potential, get it through that approval process, turn it into an approved development. And then once it's an approved development, you exit the deal through a double closing, simultaneous closings. And I teach lots of different exit strategies, payday strategies in my content, but that is the kind of the bread and butter. And if there's anything you can learn from me from this podcast today, is that if you're going to come play in my space, and that I know of, I'm the only one teaching this stuff. Like, I'm not teaching what like the landman's teaching or any of these other guys that are teaching land. They're teaching how to go make a few bucks doing rural land deals, right? What I'm teaching is a value add model of how to take a piece of raw land and turn it into an approved development. And there's substantial value in that. But if you can learn anything from me, if you're going to come play in my space and you're going to get involved in raw land that has development potential, never pay development values for land unless you're going to wait for the development to be approved before you close. Because until that development is approved, you have nothing. All you have is whatever you see sitting there right now.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
And so if you're going to go in and try to close on a piece of land, like a normal real estate transaction where you're closing in 30 days or 60 days or whatever, I sure the hell hope that you're paying as is value, which I don't have a problem with. We have a business model around land banking where we'll go in and buy stuff as is value.
Right.
And then we have huge multiples when the time comes, for development. But if there's anything you can learn from me, it's that. And so we have this thing though, DCD, you were talking, about some of the billionaires that own a lot of land right now. There's reasons why they're buying that land, which we don't need to get into other than let's just dive down to the meat and potatoes. Okay. Sure. The reason these guys are buying all this land is because the Lord's not making any more of it.
Right. It's
okay. And
the tax shelter.
They see where it's a valuable asset. They see where it has limited supply. They see where, based upon how they're looking at things, where it's going to have substantial use in the future.
Right.
And the reality is, I invest in some of them, friends that do multifamily syndication or do storage or whatever it is, right? They're doing mobile home parks, whatever it is, retail. There's all these different asset classes within real estate. But the thing is, more multifamily buildings are being created. More storage facilities are being created. The limited supply is not near as relevant as it is with land because pure and simple, it's just no more is being made. That's just That's the backbone of why land, to me, makes total sense.
Are you interested in real estate investing right here in Connecticut? Ever wonder where all those real estate investing pros hang out to network? Did you know the Connecticut Real Estate Investors Association will introduce you to those investors and will help you learn how to find deals, fund those deals, and even teach you how to do it without leaving your current job? Go to ctrea.com. That's ctreia.com and click on the events button to register for an upcoming event. Hope to see you soon.
Buying investment real estate is both thrilling and sometimes stressful. Without a lending expert by your side, most investors don't stand a chance. That's where CTREA Funding comes in. CTREA Funding was founded by investors to help investors just like you fund their deals. Whether you're buying a single-family rehab, an apartment building, or really any investment property, our team will understand your deal and help you close quickly. Go to ctreiafunding.com or call us at 860-876-0572.
You buy land that has development potential. Let's talk about your framework in terms of how you look at a parcel of land and how do you determine whether or not there's a development possibility? What are you looking for?
Absolutely. There's a lot to that, but let's just touch the tip of the iceberg. Okay. So in order to establish if a piece of raw land has development potential, one is zoning. What is it zoned, or what is the jurisdiction willing to allow it to be rezoned to? Okay. Right? Maybe it's in one of their concept plans where right now it's zoned ag, but they want it to be zoned retail or residential or whatever. And understand what we teach as far as the land use process, entitlements, governmental approvals. It's 90% the same no matter what the asset class is. Mm-hmm. Okay. So one is the zoning and or what is the jurisdiction willing to rezone it to? Number two, utilities. Does it have public utilities, right? So that'd be sanitary sewer, that'd be water, so on and so forth. Does it have utilities?
Yep.
Number three, public access, public right-of-ways. Does it have access to where the public can get to the property for it to be able to be developed? Because numerous parcels are landlocked. They might have everything you need, but you can't get to them. So then what you try to do is buy the pieces around them or buy portions of pieces around it to try to get it access.
Right.
Next is overlays. You might see this piece, it's got utilities, it's got public access, it's got zoning, but oh, wait a second. I just went and checked the overlay maps and the whole thing's in an environmental overlay, or it's in a floodplain, or it's got steep slope overlays or whatever it may be. But there's a lot of overlays out there that can destroy the development potential of a piece of property, or at least destroy a portion of its development potential. And then the last one, number 5, is topography. What is the topography of the land? Okay, is it flat? Is it upsloping? Is it downsloping? The reality is a flat piece is the cheapest piece to develop. And so what happens is, depending on the topography, the development costs might blow up the development potential of a piece because it just costs too much. Or it might be downsloping away from where the utilities are, and the jurisdiction won't allow, say, pump stations or pumps in the homes to pump the sanitary sewer up to the main line. And so the downsloping topography kills its development potential. So those are the 5 basics that someone needs to get their arms around before going any deeper.
And so let's say we find a parcel and that land fits the bill in terms of utilities and topography and all that other stuff. And so you've got to go through some sort of zoning process, right? To do what? So what are you?
Or it might already be zoned for development, so I don't have to go through a zoning process, or I might have to get it rezoned depending. But the main process you have to go through is, let's just say we've identified that we think the piece is a good piece for development. We then got to go and establish what is the value of it, right? Which we teach through our magic math or our reverse engineering, where you can take a finished home value, or can we specialize in residential?
Okay.
I just love that asset class because people always need a roof over their head.
Right.
They don't need a retail front. They don't necessarily need a storage facility, whatever. So I'm a big believer in residential. But anyways, you got to do some basic back of the napkin math or underwriting to establish what you're going to try to get this deal done at. Plus, there's certain terms that you need to understand that we function within this space, right? Like one I just shared with you. Don't ever say you're going to close prior to approvals. I hate to be blunt, but stupidity. And in the last 2 years, from mid 20 to mid 22, the guys that were out there doing that stupid stuff, they are getting their asses handed to them right now.
Sure are.
And they deserve it. I hate to say it, but they deserve it because they went and started doing stupid stuff. So anyways, it's understanding the price and terms. So, okay, so now I get this piece of property tied up. Okay, I control it now. Well, now I got to go through that approval process. But the first thing before I even go through that entitlement or land use approval, entitlement, whatever you want to call it, process, I first probably spend my first 90 days plus or minus going through my due diligence process or my feasibility study. And we engage our civil engineer. We do lots of layout work. We meet with the jurisdiction. We do very in-depth cost estimating that, by the way, our engineer does all that. I should tell you one thing that's nice about our business model is the consultants do 90% of the lifting. Deal makes it past due diligence. It looks good. Okay, great. Now I'm probably going to make my first earnest money payment. And that, by the way, most of my earnest money payments are non-refundable. They just sit in escrow because I can't have someone running off with my money. Right. But the only way I get my money back is if the seller defaults. Okay. So then I start my land use application and I put that together. And let's just say that takes 60 days or 90 days. Then I submit it to the jurisdiction. And usually from the time I submit it to the jurisdiction to the time they approve my land use application, where now I have preliminary approval for development, some jurisdictions, they'll turn it in 30 days, right? In the country. Cause we're all over the country. We're in numerous states now, but other jurisdictions from the time I submit my application to the time that I get approval could be 5-6 months. So it's all across the board, but that's the basic idea. And then once I have that approved, then all of a sudden I got something. I got an approved development. I still got to go through construction drawings and all that, but I have something. And then that's when a lot of times you'll close with the seller, and simultaneous to that, your buyer will close with you and you make your scrape out of the middle.
And that's the double close. I got you. Okay.
Yep.
Crystal clear. All right. So how long does this process typically take?
It totally depends. I mean, we have I would just say on average 12 months.
Okay.
We have deals that get done quicker, but we have deals that take 2 years. But I'll give you an example. I think I just mentioned to you earlier about that one student that was so fulfilling to hand him a check for over $600,000. From the time he turned that deal over to us to the time he got paid was right. I think it was about 11 months.
Wow, that's a nice year. Right? That's a heck of a year. Good on you.
But you know what? I didn't finish what I was saying earlier, and I want to make sure I share this because I love spending time in humility. Is that I said people give me credit that I'm a lot smarter than I actually am. Because when I started VestRight, it was just all about PIF, make a difference, help other people with my specialty experience. I don't teach construction, even though I've developed lots of subdivisions and I've built lots of homes. I don't teach any of that technical stuff because it's a dime a dozen. You can go get all kinds of education out there on that stuff. So I don't teach it at all because I bring no value. Okay. I bring value in my specialty experience. But people are like, Cody, what a brilliant model. You have all of these people all over the country bringing your company deals. What a brilliant model. Like, you have land acquisition people all over the country. Let me just humbly tell you that was not the original plan.
So
the original plan was just to teach what I do.
Yep.
But then what happened is students kept asking time and time again, can we partner with you? Can we partner with you? So finally we opened that door where if you want to go do it on your own, great. If you want to partner with us, great. If you want to partner with us for your first few deals, just to watch us and shadow us and then go do it on your own, great. But just to be clear, I wasn't smart enough to think up that would be that wasn't the original plan of VestRight.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, it's, one of the first concepts we talked about, fear, right? And one of the ways that I find that a lot of people that even I work with, and I'm not a coach per se, I'm more of a mentor. Like I said, I'm a cheap date. They want someone who's been there and done that, standing next to them. Even I'm doing this, right? I've got a development coming up in the spring. And the gentleman who's mentoring me on this, I sat down with him a few weeks ago and said, there is no way I'm signing on the bottom line unless you are my partner. And I mean, as part of the company that we're going to start to build this development, right?
Yeah.
And because he was always like, oh, I'll gladly help you. No problem at all. I was like, no. I want you in. I want you shoulder to shoulder in the same meetings I am, because half those meetings, I'm not going to know what I'm talking about. And you do. So,
yeah.
And I'm a learn by doing kind of guy. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, you are spot on. Like, here's the reality. No two deals are the same. There is no way I can teach you everything in a course. It's just, or in a program, in a code. I can't. So yes, I can create a strong foundation for you to then build upon as far as knowledge, but then there's no better education than learning through experience.
Amen.
But I will say my students have an advantage over what I had when I started 20 years ago, because they have an opportunity to learn through a lot of my mistakes and my failures through my programs versus having to go through some of the pain that I went through.
Right. And that's the beauty of a framework, right? Is that, you have a starting spot, step by step, at least at a strategic level, here are the 9 things I need to do. Tactically, as you go into the deals, stuff's going to happen and things are going to change. And, you're going to have to tactically do different things within the silo of or pillar of that piece of the framework. But your framework's your friend. I'm stealing Russell Brunson, but the fact is that is it, right? That's your guide.
That's right. Right. That's good.
So I'm curious about the coaching program. So is it online? Do you do in person? Is there a mastermind? Like, how does that work?
We're still kind of in a lot of ways a startup. We're still kind of sorting out our way.
Okay.
We have a laundry list of things we want to do, a mile long, trying to prioritize them. Right. We finally are launching some in-person stuff in 23, where I'll be in person in workshops and even doing like small group stuff with me. But right now, what we have available is we have a few different courses or programs. One is just, if you want us to teach you off market and how to identify and how to analyze if a piece is developable or not, we have a course that teaches that. And that's a course we created after so many people wanted to be our partners. And we said, okay, we're going to teach you enough to where you bring value to us. You can get through that course in probably 3 weeks, month, 2 weeks, online login, membership login, portal, modules, videos, homework, the whole deal. That's all built around just go find a ready, willing seller of a piece that has development potential, tee it up, turn it over to us. We'll go in, negotiate the deal. We'll run the approval process. We'll get it approved. We'll sell it, and we'll capitalize everything. And we'll cut you in on the profits for bringing us the ready, willing seller. Okay. Okay. And then we have the full meal deal program, where we teach you A to Z, everything we've talked about here today, how to find these deals, how to analyze them, how to underwrite them, how due diligence works, how to get through the approval process, how to sell them. And we've had students do both, right? Some do it themselves, some bring us the deals, some doing a combination of both. And then along with both those courses, we have live coaching calls, group coaching calls that are every 2 weeks. And that's not only me on those calls, but that's also, I have a staff based in Dallas, Texas at my headquarters for Allied Development. And my staff is involved with those calls as well.
Awesome.
And so, we're excited. Next year, we're going to do some live workshops at our headquarters. We have a classroom there at our headquarters where we can host about 150 people, and we're going to start doing workshops. But that's kind of what it's all. But anyways, and then the bigger, I should tell you, the A to Z course, it's about 8 weeks long. Same thing, online login, portals, homework, crazy, amazing content. Like I said earlier, our refund rate / chargeback rate, as far as being an online based company, as far as collecting money, is like non-existent. Like, we just have raving reviews, which is just flattering. And it's in line with PIF, right? Like, if I'm trying to impact people's lives, I don't want to have a bunch of refunds or chargebacks, right? Because obviously something doesn't match up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's a gap there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. We started down the path of talking about personal lives and how we operate our personal lives. I'm curious, when you're not talking about land or real estate or anything like that, what do you like to do?
So I moved to a town called Paradise Valley, which is really next to Scottsdale, Arizona. I moved down here a little over 2 years ago. So I've become a golfer. So I love to golf. So I would say by far, that's my number one hobby. I'm a fairly disciplined individual. So over the last several years, I've really honed into what my daily habits are. And so I have 9 daily habits at this point. So those consume several hours of my day, making sure I knock out my 9 daily habits.
Mind if I ask you what those are?
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Everybody loves, yeah, no problem.
All right, what are they?
I didn't used to be a morning person. And over many years now, I've become one. Yep. And so, I'll get up anywhere between, say, 4 and 5 each day. And I get a handful of hours in the morning all to myself. Yeah. Okay. And so in the morning, I wake up, I pray. Mm-hmm. Okay. I do my daily devotion. I journal. Okay. Okay. And then depending on the time of the year, because where I live or if I'm traveling, well, even before I go there, I work out. Okay. So I work out in the morning. And then from there, I'll usually go do an hour-long walk, depending on the season. Or if not, if it's like right now, right now in Arizona, it's kind of cold in the morning. So
don't tell me
I
that.
do
I
my
live in New England. There's no such thing as cold in Arizona.
So what I do is, what I'll do is I'll do my walk midday, okay. Right? And during my hour-long walk, I will habit stack. And so during that walk, I will listen to a book, I will listen to the Bible, and I will pray.
Yep.
One thing I failed to mention is while I work out every day for just call it an hour, give or take, is I listen to a podcast.
Okay.
And then lastly, when we talk about my hobby of golf, I've been very disciplined about swinging the golf club. And so whether that's in the simulator at Golf Tech practicing, or whether that's my coach on the range or at Golf Tech coaching me, and then I play golf. I play 18 holes every Friday morning. So swinging the golf club is the 9th one.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Cody, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I can't wait to learn more about your coaching program. Given that I'm now getting into development, I may become one of your students at one point in the semi-near future. So I may realize that just getting the land ready for development is more lucrative than actually developing it in the long term. But if somebody wants to find out more about your program, or wants to hire you as a mentor, or just wants to get to know you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah. So I'll give you a couple resources right now,
okay,
but great. I'll tell you, even if you don't want to develop, even if you don't want to, because remember DCD, dirt controls deals. Whoever controls the dirt controls the deal. So even if you don't want to develop, if you control dirt, you have a huge advantage because you're in at the beginning. Yes. Secondly, knowledge is power. There's nothing like being one of the more knowledgeable people in the room. So even if you're never going to develop, if you understand development, you become more powerful than the average guy in the room. Okay. If you understand what I understand.
Yep.
Okay. But with that, I mean, you can find Cody Bjugan, myself, last name spelled B as in boy, Jugan. You can find me just search my name, Cody Bjugan, on Facebook. Go to codybjugan.com, go to Instagram, Cody Bjugan, wherever, right? But where I want to send you all today is where you can go and get some free resources. So awesome. There's a video series y'all can check out. There's also a free ebook that I created called 7-Figure Raw Land Paydays. You can see how I can make 7 figures on one deal versus some of the other models out there where you might have to do 100 deals to make 7 figures. Go to VestRight.com/underground. Again, VestRight.com/underground. And you can go there and some phenomenal tools, resources. Go through my video series, go through the book. I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee anything. I wish I could, but I would be amazed if you don't come out the other side much more knowledgeable than you are today.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that, Cody. I'm certainly going to take advantage of it, and I hope people in the audience do as well. Cody Bjugan, I have really enjoyed this conversation. It's great to finally meet you. Like I said, I've been stalking you for like 6 months, so it's nice to finally make this connection, and I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with you and learning more from you. So thank you very much for your time today. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. It was nice being here.
This has been the Real Estate Underground podcast, a Clark Street Capital presentation. Thanks for joining us. If you're enjoying the show, please remember to like and share it with your friends. Also, leave a comment if there's a topic you want us to cover. We read every comment. If you'd like to learn more about Clark Street Capital and our upcoming projects, please feel free to reach out to us and join our investor club at clarkst.com/join, or join the Underground Insights newsletter at clarkst.com/newsletter. Until next time, happy investing.
This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.